Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host, and I'm joined by the film encyclopedia man, Boaz Dix. We are a couple of filmmakers on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode we pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on VOD. Myself and Boaz pick our favourite film from that topic, and we battle it out to decide which film will become the greatest film of all time, according to two film geeks from Wiltshire, England. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a review and subscribe. Hello, Potteroonies. This week on the Film vs. Film podcast, as Cyrano was supposed to come out this week, but jumped ship at the last minute and moved to February, but it was too late to change the subject, so we're sticking with Joe Wright films for this week. And as ever, I am joined by the secret child assassin. That is Boaz Dix. How are you, sir?
Yeah. I don't know how to respond to that. Yeah.
It's like, oh, shit, he knows who I am.
Yeah. Yep, the secret child with a large beard and it's about, 6'11". A lot of chest hair. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a weird child.
Yeah, like a bear cub. I mean, that could be a thing, actually. An assassin bear cub. I think that would be a great film.
Really?
But anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I wouldn't watch that.
No. You're missing out, man.
So, right, should we go with your film first then, Boaz? What did you go for Joe Wright films?
I went with Atonement.
Cool. Why did you go with Atonement?
I think it's the only actual one I'd seen of Joe Wright films.
Oh, right.
I'm not going to pretend I actually know who the hell Joe Wright is. I had no idea what Joe Wright was. Never heard his name before. I've heard of Steve Wright or whatever. Yeah, so I had no idea. So I just put a list of his movies and, I recognized Hannah. I've never watched Hannah properly. I think I watched the end and I thought, that looks kind of cool. But you'd already picked that. So I was like, Atonement. I mean, I've seen Atonement. Yeah, so I picked that.
Why Atonement and not Darkest Hour? Do you like your war films? You like your war history?
Yeah, I do. I do actually like my war films. Well, I think the main reason I didn't pick Darkest Hour was because of you. You said you didn't. I think you said you didn't like Darkest Hour very much in one conversation we had, and then I was like, "Well, that's obviously not going to fucking win if I." Yeah, it's obviously not going to win if I pick that. Screw that. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I do like my war films, but.
So what happens in Atonement?
So Atonement is the story of Briony Tallis.
Briony Tallis, yeah.
Briony Tallis. I think it's like the 1930s when she's quite young, just before the war. Very kind of rich, young, like 12-year-old girl and stuff. And her sister, played by Keira Knightley, I forget her name, Celia. She's got kind of a crush on like the gardener or something like that, played by James McAvoy.
No names, but us.
Line. Anyway, James McAvoy. And, he also has a huge crush on her. They end up like having sex during a sort of dinner that's happening, where the family has invited loads and loads of other socialites. And Bryony sees them, have sex and stuff, and is a bit like taken aback. Oh, what was it? Then when two kids, one of these other socialites, their kids, two of the boys run away. Their sister basically gets kind of like raped, I suppose, in a field when they're searching for her. Yeah. And Bryony, she thinks it's James McAvoy's character because she's just convinced that he's some sort of sex demon or whatever. Sex fiend.
Sex maniac, yeah.
Yeah, sex maniac. And so she accuses him, that she said she saw it and she knew it was him and stuff. And he goes to jail. And then he gets the choice, actually, to, after serving several years, to go into the army, which he does. But he has this kind of long-distance relationship with Cece over letters and stuff. And he wants to come back home, and she wants him back. And Briony is trying to atone for this by being a nurse and trying to, sort of fix what she's done because she knows You know, she literally did not see him that night, and she kind of lied and ruined their lives.
So what did you make of this one then?
Yeah, I thought it was all right.
I love this film until the end happens.
Yeah.
And then I felt a bit annoyed, but we'll get to that in later. Directing then. One thing I found interesting in the opening moments of the film is the fact that the action seems to be like connected to the music a lot, and you get that a lot with Hannah in the opening scenes as well. Like in the opening shot, you see Bryony Tallis, played by Saoirse Ronan, typing away at a typewriter. Then when she leaves her room, like the sound of the typing becomes part of the score almost seamlessly. Then when Keira Knightley's character Celia Tallis gets to the house, the piece of music ends when she plucks the piano. So it was quite a nice opening few scenes where Joe Wright definitely connects diegetic sound to the score. Yeah, you get that a lot with Hannah as well. So I quite liked that. In a few scenes, I quite like the way Joe Wright shows you the same scene, but from different perspectives.
Yeah, I quite like that as well.
The first one at the start is where like Robbie Turner, played by James McAvoy, seems to have an argument with Celia by the fountain. The vase breaks and Celia has to go into the water to fetch the broken piece. And it's all done from like Bryony's perspective up in the window. The fact that Bryony can see Robbie looking at Celia just in her undergarment all wet, Bryony's like, nope, I don't like this guy. You know, you definitely get the feeling that she doesn't like him because Robbie seems to inspire her like villain character in the story later on. And I think you definitely get a sense through the story as well that Bryony is secretly in love with Robbie as well.
Yeah.
There's certainly a jealousy factor there as a child. Then you see the scene again, but from like Robbie and Celia's perspective, with all the like the little acting nuances you get in that as well with the direction.
I also thought it was kind of adorable that when she leaves the, fountain and they just kind of look at each other, like camera back and forth, and then how he kind of very gently like puts his hand on the surface of the water. It's almost like, kind of wanted to touch her in that moment, but,
yeah. Then you have the scene where Robbie is trying to write an apology letter to Celia about his behavior. He can't write anything good, but then writes a very naughty erotic letter.
Yeah.
And I never thought I would see the word displayed right across the screen at one stage. I was like, wow, they went there.
each keystroke of the,
Yeah, so that was quite a surprise.
Yeah.
Then he comes up with an actual letter of the apology, and you assume he puts the apology letter in an envelope. Then in the next scene, Robbie is walking to the party that he's invited to and notices Bryony playing by the river. Robbie asked Bryony to take the letter to Celia so he doesn't do it himself because he would feel a little foolish. But you don't know why, and it's just an apology letter. Then there's this brilliant sliding shot on the back of McAvoy's head, which finishes dead center. Then you have a few shots repeated from the previous scene of him like lighting up his lighter a few times, things like that, which is repeated several times, in quick succession with this dramatic typing music again. Like the score is great in this, actually.
Yeah, it is.
And it's revealed that it's the erotic letter. Then McAvoy bellows out, Bryony! So it's just a really well done reveal of Robbie's desires and Bryony's suspicions when she opens it.
Opens it like that, yeah. And then you have a repeat of the of the same shot where he keystroked the word as she's reading it. CUNT. You're like, Jesus Christ.
It's all done in this very kinetic way with the music and the fast cutting. So I think that's definitely one of the best scenes in it. And then later on, you have this amazing wanna on Dunkirk, following Robbie and his two comrades along, Dunkirk beach.
I think that's probably my favorite. It's such an intricate long shot. There's so much going on. It's also taken from quite far back because they literally walk onto the beach, talk to a sailor about getting off the beach, and he's like, no fucking chance. Do you know what I mean? He's quite rude. Because he's like, you got to have to wait your turn. There's hundreds of thousands here. And then literally goes around, and you've got people playing, people fighting. Them taking, killing the horses, some guy smashing up all the trucks. It's such a lot of stuff, and then a choir where it just goes around the choir.
Yeah, this bandstand, on the promenade. And they go back up the promenade. Yeah, you see the steam coming off all the trucks, and then they go on the pit. Well, the camera like leaves Robbie a few times, so the timing of him coming into shot and then walking with the camera again was really quite clever. And then it kind of stops on the pier, and you can see like in the distance of and you can't even see where they even started. Probably it was so far away.
Yeah,
and they probably couldn't have had many goes at it because it's all done in like magic hour as the sun's going down, so it's like one take a day probably. So if they don't get it right, they literally have to wait, I suspect, till the next day. So that's pretty insane.
Yeah, it was an incredibly intricate scene. It's just insane, the rehearsal for that.
Is that your favorite shot then?
Yeah, I think by far just the technical brilliance of that sequence is just incredible.
Because you got thousands of extras, loads of vehicles, and special effects. So it's just like, bloody hell, to get all that right in one shot is so impressive.
Yeah, definitely.
Not my favourite shot, though, because I think everyone would pick that shot.
Yeah.
So I picked a different one.
Yeah. You got to be bloody special, don't you?
Yes, I do. That long one-shot scene at Dunkirk was quite beautiful, impressive, and smooth. But then a few scenes later, you see a grown-up Bryony who's a nurse in a hospital, and when all the men arrive from Dunkirk, it's chaos. Like a lot of fast cutting, a lot of graphic imagery of the soldiers, very bloody. There's even a few like handheld shots in there to create more chaos. And it's interesting to see because you don't see many hospital scenes like this in war films, I don't think, shot like this that much. So you get more of a sense that this is like during a war than the Dunkirk long shot in some ways. But the scene where Bryony unravels that French soldier's head bandage and a large piece of skull
that was horrible.
Just falls off, I was like, ugh. I literally nearly threw up then. I was like, ugh.
Yeah, that was pretty fucking extreme. I mean, she's got to remain cool and calm after seeing that. I mean, fucking hell. I think it's great that it gets a cut of her and, like, you know, she is horrified, but she's keeping it together because she doesn't want to freak him out.
The swimming costume on Benedict Cumberbatch, though, wow, that looks snug. Not much room to maneuver in that. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet you love wearing that.
There's enough room. There's enough room for you to bite it, though.
Oh God,
that was a really creepy line. Jesus Christ.
Yes, it was.
You have to bite it.
I've never seen Cumberbatch creepier in that moment. I was like,
you're just like,
yeah, run! Why aren't you running? But my favourite shot, though, there's a few that I like, actually.
I think there's quite a few that are really great. Where adult Bryony is reintroduced again, I thought that was great, with all the nurses basically in lines, all the sisters, this other one barking orders at them, and they all move away, you know, from the formation they're in, and she's left center camera, so you're like, oh shit, that's her. Yeah. And I like that. I thought that was kind of an effective way of reintroducing a character.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an absolutely gorgeous shot of Robbie and two soldiers walking in France where the sun is coming down in magic hour, illuminating the mist and fog, and the camera tracks around them all in silhouette, of course. Anything with silhouettes, I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Then you see like a small river and three bombers fly over reflected in the river. I was just like, wow, that looked incredible. That's my favorite shot. Yeah. You know, there are some other like stunning shots in this in terms of cinematography. There's a beautiful shot of Keira Knightley in silhouette on the beach at the cliffs of Dover in this like bluey green tone. There's even great shots of Robbie walking in front of this like underground cinema. You know, then the projection filling like the screen at an angle. Just some really, really great shots in this. So, directing score for me, there is a big issue I have in this film, which is near the end, which I think is partly directing and partly screenplay, and I'll get to it in the screenplay. So I will go with like an 8.6, I think. So I think if they did that particular scene differently, it would be a 9, definitely. Yeah. So what are you going with, Boaz?
I think I'll go higher than that. I'll go an 8.99, I think.
Right, screenplay then. With the storytelling of like showing the same scene from different perspectives in this film, it does feel like you're very much watching a book being adapted. I mean that in a good way. There's a scene where like Bryony finds like a piece of jewelry on the floor and follows a noise through the house and finds Celia splayed across the bookcase while Robbie is on her. You know, the figures of the two of them like coming out of the shadows was kind of brilliantly done as well from a directional standpoint. It's like you've watched a particular chapter and then you get the scene again, but from Robbie and Celia's perspective while they rut on the bookcase. You know, you can concentrate on them more and what they're saying to each other rather than what you would normally see of the same perspectives like intercut. So it's like you're watching a book in a way. That's how I felt while I was watching this film at times.
I think it's good as well to try and not confuse the audience, to have like a moment where you sort of know it's being replayed again. I think with this, I think they did it with the first time, I can't remember, but with the second time where he rings the bell, so you've got that twice, almost like the same shot, the same thing. He's at the door, ring the bell, and then you have from Bryony's perspective, and you have the whole scene play out, and she's doing stuff and what have you, moving around, and then sees the thing, the brooch, and goes there, and then you have the same exact shot play again. He rings the bell, but then it's from that, and I thought that was pretty cool.
I quite like the way like Celia and Robbie get separated by a case of like mistaken identity. That Bryony thought she saw Robbie raping Lola, and Robbie gets arrested for her. The fact that Bryony didn't like him anyway because she thought she attacked Celia early on in the library. But I don't understand why Paul Marshall, who actually did rape Lola, decided to do it when everyone was trying to look for the twins.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
It seems a bit stupid to me. Like, someone's going to find you. People are actively looking for the twins in the dark with torches. So it's a bit like, I guess maybe it shows he was absolutely desperate to you know,
don't get too much in the mind of a rapist. A rapist isn't logical.
Yeah,
it's a bloody smart move of his to marry her, though. I mean, you know, even at the end, it's like, well, shit. Well, we can't do anything. It was him, and he married her. Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Well, and she even goes to the wedding. I thought that was also a good shot where she's really embarrassed when she's at the wedding. She keeps looking away, and she's looking down, and then you see the whole procession, and when they go by her, she looks up, and her friend looks away. I like that. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, the acting in that from Benedict Cumberbatch is really good as well. Where he's like walking back down the aisle, and as soon as he locks eyes with Bryony, his eyes are like he's seen a ghost, while the rest of his face is still trying to catch up to who he's just seen. Great directing as well to make it feel very quick, making the acting even better, you know. So the ending is really interesting. It ends with Bryony finally making contact with her sister Celia, and it's revealed brilliantly with the direction that Robbie is living with in that fleeting shot. Robbie and Celia want to make her write a letter explaining everything, that it was Danny Hardman who raped Lola. Then Bryony says no, it was Paul Marshall, which basically means Robbie is screwed. He's going back to prison after the war. Then we cut to the modern day, and we see Bryony as an old lady played by Vanessa Redgrave, giving an interview to sell her last book, and reveals that the last scene during the war didn't actually happen. Robbie died at Dunkirk, and Celia drowned in a London tube tunnel. So Bryony is trying to give the characters like a fictional ending to their lives they deserved, and I actually really liked that. It's very poetic, and it's a very interesting way on like to comment on like the virtue of telling the truth. But my problem with it's executed really poorly, in my opinion. One, it looks ugly in the TV studio setting. You know, in this really beautiful film, tonally, it just doesn't fit. It's all wrong. Like, two, why would you reveal to the world that your ending is all made up? No one's going to buy your book if the ending is fake. So I feel like they could have done the same scene, but in a more of a private setting at home, telling her granddaughter or something that the ending was made up. And that she wanted to write a better ending for these two characters that she feels so guilty for. I love the idea, but just wrong setting, badly executed for me. What's your thoughts on it?
I never even thought about that, but my general opinions of the film is I think it was shot pretty well. I think there's some good lines, there's some good story there. It never compelled me that much, the story, I'm like, it's interesting, but I don't really care that much, and I'm not really sure if I'm just a heartless bastard or it's maybe the fact that they're all posh, and I'm like, I just don't know.
Right.
I do not care for your love story. You posh people.
I get what you're saying a little bit, because at times it does feel like a little disjointed between the characters.
Yeah.
You get the 30s scenes, and then so you're with Robbie, and you really get the romantic tension between Robbie and Celia in a lot of it. And then we don't see Celia for a while.
Yeah, for a long time.
Near the end, so
yeah. So I kind of get this feeling. I wish they kind of had sort of, either it was you focus on what's her face, Brienne, a lot, yeah? That would be most of the film. If it's her film. So, I can get very emotionally attached to her. Or you focus on Robbie and Cece. But I just feel like I didn't really get enough scenes or kind of feeling for Cece, for Keira Knightley's character. I think, I don't know. That's just my feel. So, I was like, oh yeah, it's unfortunate that they can't spend their lives together. Oh well. Well, I didn't feel like, how I think I should have, where I should be bawling my eyes out that they never got to be with each other.
Yeah.
But I just didn't get that. Even by the end, I was like, oh well, that's unfortunate. But
I think there's an issue as well, the fact that not that Keira Knightley is a bad actress. I really like Keira Knightley, but her character's not particularly very likable in this film. I don't think.
I don't think so.
Robbie is quite likable. There's a lot to his character, but Celia, she's like the really bossy older sister.
Yeah. I think especially when he joins the army, I really feel for Robbie, because you're like, man, you are going through some shit. And what's keeping him alive is literally. Yeah. I love the scenes because he's even trying to dictate letters to her. He's trying to think the next thing he's going to write. But I just didn't feel like she got much development afterwards, because I think you're right. She's just a bossy sort of brat. And he loves her for some reason. You can't choose these things. Then he's taken away from her. But you don't really get much of her and her side of the story, but mainly sort of Robbie, and he's thinking about her constantly, and he's going through this hell. And then, he dies. But, I'm not seeing what he sees. I can't see why he likes her so much. So I kind of wish maybe they did more scenes with Keira Knightley's character and try to make her a little bit more developed.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it if it was an extra 20 minutes longer.
Yeah, 20 minutes, just from her point of view, how much she's struggling without him, and what's going on with her. And then I think I might have cared a lot more, But yeah.
Yeah.
I actually think we've just solved it there. I think, just an extra 20 minutes with Keira Knightley's character so I can actually understand why he likes her. Or, make her a little bit more likable at the beginning. And, I think I would have been genuinely sad. But it does strike me that this is the second time I watched this film. And again, the second time where I'm like, yeah, it's unfortunate, but, oh well, and I don't think that's the end, the response he sort of wanted at the end.
I mean, what's your take on that TV interview scene? Did that work for you or not?
It gave me sort of vibes of Titanic, but I think at least with Titanic, I mean, that's established. It's like the frame of the movie. But yeah, I don't know. I think I do agree with you where it kind of, it does feel a little strange.
Feels out of place.
It does feel quite out of place. Yeah. I think maybe if they did it a bit different, maybe more like Titanic, where you frame her as she's older, or maybe as well.
Maybe
Saving Private Ryan as well is a good example, where you establish at the beginning, that this is being told in memory, in retrospect.
You can still have the reveal that the ending was made up.
Yeah, I think you're right. It'd probably be a little better in a sort of more private setting of just saying, listen, yeah, they died. It was all my fault. Fuck, and I made that last bit up.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think doing it on public while it might be sort of she's really getting it off her chest. She's really. It's like, I think you're right. Like, who's going to buy that now?
Yeah. Yeah. And saying, the fact that she's dying is doesn't work for me. You know, the fact that she's doing it now because she's dying doesn't work for me. It's not a strong enough argument to actually go on TV and say, the ending was all made up. I'm like, really? Come on. I ain't reading that. Deep in thought now.
I'm just trying to get my thoughts on this. It's like, I do think it's shot good. I think the story's pretty good. I do think, and there's some really great moments in it. I think it's mainly the main three characters, and to be honest, the one I resonate most with is Robbie and the stuff he goes through. But at the end, I don't know if I'm as emotionally invested in what happens to each of the characters. But I do feel like, oh, that's a shame. But maybe if they were fleshed out a little more, I might be literally crying. But I just don't feel it.
There's a few interesting lines I quite liked. One from Benedict Cumberbatch where he's like, "I make a cocktail with crushed ice, rum, and melted dark chocolate. It's absolutely scrumptious." And then Robbie, well, this is not a line, but he types out in the letter, in a quite a shock moment, "In my dreams, I missed your sweet wet." Oh my god, Jesus!
That's pure poetry. You should write that to. Or listen, anybody who's listening, if you've got a girlfriend you quite like, a girl you quite like, send her that letter. It will win any girl over. Works for James McAvoy.
Ignore Boaz. Don't listen to him. Please don't do that.
You want to keep your teeth.
But right, my favourite line is from like the Cockney soldier when they're walking towards Dunkirk, and he says, "We fight in France, and the French fucking hate us. Make me Home Secretary. I'll sort this out in a fucking minute. We got India and Africa, right? Jerry can have France and Belgium and whatever else they want. Who's ever fucking ever been to Poland? It's all about room, empire. They want more empire. Give them this shithole and we keep ours. And it's Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your fucking aunt." I thought that was great, that monologue. Have you got a favourite line then?
I think the one that sticks out to me is just the creepiest. But it's Benedict Cumberbatch going, you have to bite it. Which is
yes.
It's weird. But I do like this line where he talks to like an older Bryony, Robbie, where he's like, "How old do you have to be to know the difference?" Because she's like, "I was 13 or whatever." Like, how old do you have to be to know the difference between right and wrong? Do you have to be 18? Do you have to be 18 before you bring yourself up to own up to a lie? There are soldiers of 18 years old enough to be left to die on the side of the road. And I thought that was pretty cool.
So, screenplay score for me, I think as an epic romance set during the war, I quite like the fact that the mistaken identity plot point was really good. I like that. And the fact that the breakout of the war extends that wait for them to come back. I quite like that. But again, I think you're probably right. I don't think Celia gets enough to do to make that relationship really strong and really stick. And again, I'm not saying I didn't hate that last moment, that last reveal. I think it's just executed badly. And as I said, I think it's partly the screenplay and the direction that play a part in that, I think, because the setting of it is to do with that as well. And I think that comes more with the direction a little bit. But actually, with the actual words spoken from Vanessa Redgrave were great, and so in a story structure sense, I really like that. But yeah, just executed not great. So I'll go like in 8.2, I think, for screenplay. How about you, sir?
I think I'll go a 7.3.
7.3. Oh, bloody hell!
Yeah.
You just did not connect with these characters at all.
I just didn't really connect. To me, I just think that's a big missed opportunity. If I don't feel slightly teary-eyed that the fact that they will never be together again, that's horrible. This was a horrible injustice done to them, and I can see it is, but I don't know. Even with that reveal, I'm like, or their story, I'm like, oh, that's a
Yeah.
shame. I feel like I should say more than, oh, that's a shame. I should be like, oh, Jesus Christ, why does it hurt so much?
Yeah, exactly.
But
yeah.
and if I'm not feeling that, I do get disappointed, and I think that's a reasonable thing to get disappointed on. I do like the film. I'm not going to disagree like there. I do think it's a pretty damn good film, and I think it's written really well. A lot of the lines are great. The story itself, by and large, is pretty good, but because it's just missing that gut punch for me, even though in theory it's sad as fuck, but I don't feel it at the end. Yeah, to me, I've got to deduct some major points there.
I think I connected with it a little bit more than you, probably because I'm posher. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. Probably went to school with half the fucking cast.
But I think. What did you say? Sorry,
I said you probably went to school with half the cast.
No, not that posh. Fucking hell. But yeah, I think you're kind of right as well. I think there's just too much disjointedness about the storytelling between the key three characters. I know that's kind of the point as well, but
yeah, true.
That stretches so far in a story like this. So. Right, acting then. Like the acting from Keira Knightley and James McAvoy is brilliant at the dinner table after Bryony caught them shagging.
Yeah, I thought that was
They look so uncomfortable. Then when Bryony shows everyone Lola's Chinese burns, thinking it was from the twins, Juno Temple looks really guilty, who plays Lola, and then Cumberbatch looks so uncomfortable. Ew.
Yeah, no, because I like how he interjects. Oh yeah, those bloody kids! I had to pry them off her. Isn't that right, Lola? And it's like, whoa, fucking hell, this is horrible. It's like, how the hell are the parents not sensing this? I mean, it's not so overblown that it's melodramatic and like overacted, but it's subtle enough that you're like, hang on a minute, something's going on here.
It still made me feel very uncomfortable. So it's just a brilliant way you go from feeling uncomfortable for Robbie and Celia to feeling very uncomfortable yourself. Brilliantly done. Then, like, the feeling is diffused well with humor when, like, Bryony revealing a letter and Keira Knightley bursts out saying, "Give it to me."
Yeah, I thought that was
And
good.
then Bryony says it's from the twins, and, like, Keira Knightley looks really embarrassed. She was really great there. I love the moment from Robbie when he meets Celia at the cafe, like 6 months before Robbie travels to France in the Second World War. They like awkwardly sit down, and Robbie is just stirring his tea, and like Celia, gently as anything, puts her hand on Robbie's, and you can see Robbie squeezing that spoon really hard, and the stirring is not smooth at all. And then Robbie like takes her hand off his and finishes stirring his tea smoothly, like nothing happened. And I love like the little acting details like that, and it makes their relationship, much stronger than dialogue could in those moments. That's probably my favorite scene between those two. Just really subtly done.
Yeah, I thought that was actually kind of adorable. I sort of forgot about it, but yeah, no, it is pretty great. But I like how he's even like, you don't owe anything to me for something that happened, 3 years ago. And she's like, do you not read my letters? I would see you every day if I could have. Like, oh man, that's such a shame. It was quite nice. It was quite a nice conversation. I quite like that.
I think my favorite performance will go to James McAvoy for me. I think he does this. I've kind of talked about this before, which I always quite like, this kind of like internal rage he kind of portrays, especially in that last scene when he's confronting Bryony, a grown-up Bryony, even though that's not even real. But he's so good there. He definitely saves the film in a way. In those moments. He becomes unpredictable of like what he could do to Bryony.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Yeah.
What was another bit I quite liked? Oh, where he kind of rages at Bryony when she was younger because she quite liked him as a child, and she's like, if I jumped in here, would you? If I fell in, would you say?
Oh yeah.
And he's like, yeah, of course. And she falls in. He's like, what the fuck, And he's like, you stupid child. He's just losing his shit.
Yeah,
that was really good.
What's your favorite performance then?
I think I'll go James McAvoy. I think you're right. He can do very well that whole, he's got emotion bubbling beneath the surface that he's trying very desperately to put a lid on. He does that very well, whether it's like, it's love, it's absolute passion, and he's trying to just make sure it doesn't show.
One scene he's actually amazing at, and I kind of forgot to mention this in the screenplay, is those flashback scenes with his mum, when you think at the time they're flashbacks, but no, it's actually a point in the film where he's died in Dunkirk. So he goes to sleep on the street in Dunkirk, and then he like comes back, and you think he's drunk because he's got a bottle. You think he's really drunk after that flashback, which you think is a flashback. And it's all done with like very blurry cinematography, and the acting between him and his mum was great there. And I like the fact that in a script point of view as well, that they don't really let on that he's dying before he goes to sleep. I need to watch it again, but I don't know whether they show that with his acting. But I didn't get the sense that he was dying of septicemia.
No, I mean they never mention it. He looks quite weak and quite pale, but the guy's like, you haven't slept in days and stuff, and obviously he keeps fretting and thinking over this thing. So he's not quite looking the best, but it kind of seems understandable. And then at the end she reveals it. He had actually septicemia, and then he's dead.
I just quite like the way that was set up, though, that you never really get an inkling, for me anyway, that he was dying, that he died in that moment. That it just felt like that was a flashback, that he's just missing home,
Yeah.
So that was really well done. So acting score for me, I'm gonna go with like an 8.7. I think the acting is the strongest element for me in this film.
Yeah. I think the acting is pretty damn good. I'm gonna go a 9. I think.
Cool. All right, let's add up the scores then for Atonement. Atonement gets 50.7. Right, my pick then for Joe Wright films is a film that is spelt wrong, Hannah. It doesn't have an H on the end, which is weird to me, but there we go. Why did I pick this? Well, I've never actually seen this one before. It's one of these picks where I'm going for one I haven't seen before. I'd seen Atonement, I've seen Darkest Hour, and I hadn't seen Anna Karenina. I wasn't terribly interested in that. I kind of wish I picked that one now. I wasn't a fan of this much, really. Yeah, it was quite disappointing as an action film. What did you make of this one?
Wow, that's surprising. I actually liked it. So it's kind of strange, but yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Could have some differing scores.
Yeah.
What happens in Hannah? Well, we meet a girl at 13 called Hannah, the title character, played by Saoirse Ronan, and her father, Eric Banner, who plays Eric, and they're in like this snowy forest in Leipzig, Germany. And Eric is kind of training her up, something dangerous, it seems like, basically training her to be an assassin, but you don't know really what for. And then one day Eric asks her, tell me when you are ready. You can flick this switch and then someone will try and kill you. People will come after us. Slightly odd, but there we go. And then we meet Kate Blanchett's character, Marissa Wiegler. She runs a government agency, and we soon realize that Eric's an agent that needs to be tidied up, a loose end that has emerged that needs cleaning up, basically. She soon realizes that this actually needs to be done off the books. So she hires the amazing Tom Hollander as this gay German hitman to find and kill both of them. So it's basically a long chase film. I wasn't a massive fan.
Fair enough.
To be honest. Directing then, the scene where all the government agents surround Hannah in the cabin was quite disappointing, because you have all this fast cutting and you just see 2 dead guys on the ground where Hannah has killed them off screen. So I was like, oh, okay, they have underplayed the scene on purpose, and we're going to have the really kick-ass action when Hannah escapes the compound. But they just cut around the action a lot and don't even show certain blows. Then she escapes with ease. So the whole sequence was quite disappointing to me. Plus, there's a random split screen shot, which I hate when it's done badly, and it's done badly here. I do not like split screens. Don't do it. It displeases me.
Are you listening, directors?
It very rarely works. I mean, did you like that or not?
I can't even remember the split screen, to be honest with you. I literally...
There's just a flash up of split screen of just... That's why I'm like, it's done. Why? Why have you put this in there, Joe? Stop it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was disappointed I think it's the first couple of action scenes, really. I think, to me, where it really starts to kick into gear as an action film is quite late into the film. And it's with Eric Bana's one take walk into the thing. And I quite like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was shot really well, and I thought that was pretty cool. And then I think even some of the scenes after that were still pretty cool and pretty stylish. But yeah, no, I will kind of agree that the beginning one in the cabin, I thought, some shit was going to go down. And then, as you say, kills 2 people off screen and then is immediately captured. I was like, and captured off screen as well. So, I mean, like, what the hell was that? Especially the build-up where you've got, literally dozens of armed guys. And I did like the camera work of, because they do a lot of showing her eyes, real extreme close-ups on her eyes as she's taking everything in. And she's, looking through the door and stuff, and you've got all that, and you're like, oh, shit, stuff's going to crack up. And nothing really happens. Yeah, she does kind of leave the compound pretty easily. I mean, she snaps what she thought was Marissa's neck. I thought that was kind of cool because of how, sudden that happened. She was, giving her a hug or whatever and crying, and, they're like, this is a bad idea, and just literally just snapped her neck. And then everybody rushed in and she shot them and then just ran.
Yeah, that was probably the best bit.
I thought that was cool.
That was probably the best bit in the scene.
Yeah, that was by far the best bit in the scene, because it's the build-up as well I thought was great, where she's pretending to be Marissa. I even liked the reveal where Marissa's like, I'm going in there. And, fucking red wig, and you think, oh, that's her. And it turns around, it's some just completely different person. And she's being fed in lines. And then she cries, and you're like, what the hell's going on? Hugs her, you're like, what is going on? And then just, that was pretty badass.
As soon as it was revealed that it's not Kate Blanchett, I'm like, yeah, you're dead.
Yeah.
You ain't living from this.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it did happen way too quickly.
Then there's this really weird sequence where Hannah is running down a tunnel, and the camera is spinning all around her, in front of her, and cutting at lightning speed at times. And I think it's supposed to show how disorientating she's getting because she's never seen anything like this. But she's in complete control of the situation. She's getting away with ease. And I felt like it was a little pretentious to me. Certainly in many scenes, it just looks like Joe Wright is trying way too hard to make this exciting. I'm just like, no, just...
Yeah, calm the fuck down. Yeah,
you just need to calm down a bit with the camera work. It's way too much.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with that. Fast cuts and yeah.
Yeah, so that was just like, why?
Quick zooms in and all this other stuff. You're like...
It's too much.
Yeah, it's too much, yeah. I do agree with that, at least there.
Joe Wright has another brilliantly done long take shot that you briefly mentioned, where Eric Bana walks out of the train station and then there's a few guys hiding behind things as the camera goes past them.
Yeah.
That was cool. And Bana slowly notices them as they follow him to the subway station. Then there's this brilliant sequence where the camera just starts spinning around him slowly, revealing more and more goons. The camera work, doesn't stop spinning during the fight scene as well. That was really impressive camera work. The fight itself, a bit so-so, not the best, and a bit dumb as well. I'm like, how can you shoot your own man in the back? I mean, that's pretty stupid.
Yeah, well, yeah, true.
I'm like, you're begging to be killed in that moment.
Yeah, true. It wasn't like it was even a clear shot. I think in retrospect, I was probably taken aback by that fight scene because the camera work was so great. And I suppose if I were to actually analyze it, maybe it wasn't as good. But definitely the camera work was very good. Yeah,
that's by far probably the best shot.
I liked what was it? Where you were saying the escape of her, wasn't that impressive? I did like the Humvees going over when she.
Oh yeah,
that was cool. The Humvees going over, and then a bird's eye view shot, and she's there, Humvee, and then she's gone. She's under a Humvee, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm not sure how she gets onto the Humvee,
no idea.
but sure.
Yeah. No idea, but pretty good. I mean, it's kind of established she's somewhat superhuman. She was created in a lab. I think, to be honest, that is the only really remarkable thing she does. I think other than that, she just looks like she's trained very well. And only when she discovers, oh shit, I'm like a super soldier. I don't know. She's kind of like quite an underwhelming super soldier. I mean, she's pretty cool. She can kick ass, but it's like, I mean, I think if they had her escape and it was a lot more challenging and like just a crazy fucking scene, then you're like, oh man, only she could have escaped that. As it stands, it was like, I think you're right. It's like, you have her escape like the most secure facility in the world or whatever. And she just like kills 3 guys and literally goes up a fucking a shaft. Yeah. Like, why would you even have that? You know?
Yeah, I mean that was fairly believable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like they cut around her enhancements, if you will, her super strength. You know, because I just felt like they didn't know how to do it. They didn't know how to achieve showing that on screen, so they just decided, let's not show that.
Yeah.
And like the action scene in and around all the shipping containers wasn't very impressive to me. Like the hand-to-hand combat just felt very slow and almost like it was still at the rehearsal stage before being ready to film. Because I get the sense that because Saoirse Ronan was very like young in this film, and you can tell to me that the bad guys were kind of holding back a little bit because she's very young, and it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, and I didn't want to really beat the shit out of her.
But the cat and mouse stuff was great. Again, like all done in one shot. That was really cool, actually, to get that right. But again, like the action was very tame. Plus, the goon has clearly not played enough platformer games, so there was no way he should have got knocked off of that shipping container. I mean, you need to play some more Uncharted 2.
Everyone needs to play some more Uncharted 2.
Yes, a clue for an upcoming.
Yeah. I think my favorite scenes are just where she has to like hide, really. I think those are really great, actually. I think they're just done like either when all the goons are coming for her at the shack or whatever, at the cabin. I thought the setup was really nice with that. Where she's hiding in the back of that family's RV. I thought that was really set up.
Yeah.
That was pretty tense. That was pretty cool. Oh, what was it? Where they go to the where she goes to wait for her dad. Basically, her caretaker or whatever, the guy that is meant to look after her till her dad gets there. Like, and they come over there, and then she's got to hide under the bed and all that stuff. I mean, that shit was pretty tense. So I like the scenes where she's got to hide and stuff like that.
That first scene when she enters the Grimm house, the Grimm fairy tale house, that really pissed me off because it's going great. The atmosphere of it is brilliant, and then Joe Wright just does this random flip of the camera shot. I'm just like, what are you doing? I don't understand what you're doing here. Why are you flipping the camera from being upside down to upright again? Why? Like, the whole atmosphere of the set is giving you all the atmosphere you need. You don't need to do something wacky with the camera.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. Yeah. Again, just like calm down.
Yeah. I think I'm like, you know, some of this stuff I'm not remembering because I think if you're gonna do crazy stuff with the camera, like it's got to serve some sort of function, you know, enhance the scene, and then I think it sticks in your brain. But if you're just doing stuff to be clever, I don't know. I think I kind of agree with you. I think there are scenes where like the camera is doing way too much. So I like how the film is bookended on her hunting a deer and then hunting down Marissa. I thought that was pretty cool. You know, I like the symmetry of that scene. Yeah. Plot-wise, probably not the smartest idea if you're like the head of a government agency to literally by yourself hunt down the world's greatest assassin created in a test tube. Like, that's probably stupid, but you know.
Very stupid.
The scene itself, I quite liked. I quite liked where she was chasing her down after she shot her with an arrow. And
really?
Well, I quite liked it. Well, you didn't like it? Or?
I didn't.
You didn't?
I thought it was really dumb. Like, the ending was very disappointing, just in terms of believable physics. Like, Hannah and Marissa meet on like an abandoned ghost train track, and Hannah's like, just leave me alone. She turns her back to Marissa. Marissa is about to shoot her in the back, but no, Hannah has time to stretch out a piece of elastic that just appears out of nowhere on an arrow and fling it into Marissa's side, while Marissa shoots Hannah in the side too. And you can tell that it's ridiculous because they don't even show it. You know, there's just a close-up on Hannah's hand releasing the arrow, and a shot of Kate Blanchett shunting herself forward. Yeah. That's it. So you don't show the arrow in flight or anything. No real wide shots again. Like really cutting around the shots.
Yeah. Well, it's like I like her chasing, after she's been shot, looking for Marissa, if that makes sense. But I kind of get what you mean. Like, I did think it was silly to have a draw between a bow and a bullet.
It's almost as if they couldn't make it work, so they were forced to shoot around it.
I think it would have made more sense if she had shot her with a bow and arrow before if she got the drop on her and then shot her with a bow and arrow, because I don't think you're really, doing a draw with a bow and arrow, or it's with an arrowhead and a, as you said, like a piece of string or whatever. And she turned around. Like, I mean, that's a bad idea. Like, she could have just shot her in the head. Like, she's just lucky she shot her in, like, I don't even know where she shot her.
Yeah.
I'm swear to God, it should have been fatal. It should have shot her straight through the heart before she had a chance to turn around.
I mean, she's clearly, like, combat trained, Marissa Wiegler, so...
Yeah. So, she should have just shot her in the head. And to be honest, even if she didn't shoot her in the head, the fact that she got shot, I don't think she's then turning around and firing off an arrow, that can take her out at the same time. I don't think that's going to happen.
It just all feels a bit silly.
Yeah, like a bit contrived. I think that's more, the plotting of the scene. But I do like her kind of following the trail of her as if she was hunting her. And then it bookends the beginning of the film. Even she sees a deer and she finds her and literally shoots her in the face in the same way she shot the deer. I kind of like that bookend.
Yeah, but she doesn't have like a weapon at that point. She has nothing to actually tempt her to kill that deer. So the only bookend is the fact that there's a deer there. She doesn't have a weapon at that point. So it doesn't work as well as it should.
Well, I think she picks up her gun because she trips and falls, which is fucking silly. To be honest, that's pretty silly, because that's a contrived way to get her to get it bookended. Because she doesn't have a gun. Marissa has a gun, and she's bloody lucky that Marissa is stupid. Marissa is very, very stupid. She could have shot her in the face. 1, she should have brought back up. 2, she could have easily shot her in the face. And 3, when she does have the drop on her when she's being chased, she's the one with the gun. Why are you running away from the teenager when you have the gun? And then when she does get the drop on her, she trips over a fucking slide. I mean, that's silly now that I think about it. But
the comedy fall doesn't help.
Yeah, that's a bit contrived. I did like the scene where she shot her mother. I thought that was cool. And you have because that's done in done in one take, where the car's going and she literally comes out of the billboard behind the billboard. Bah, 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 bah. And I like that it's all just done in one shot. Shoots the car and ducks out of the way, and the car crashes and then goes over. I thought that was done. That was done pretty cool.
That's probably one of the best action scenes, actually.
Yeah,
for me.
And even thinking about that, like that's just a dive and a roll and shooting, and that's really good. That stands out. But I think it's just sometimes the camera work is really good. But I think you're kind of right. Like the choreography as an action film isn't like that strong.
No, this film is never going to feel that impressive when we live in the days of John Wick now, and even female-led action films like Atomic Blonde.
Atomic Blonde, holy crap! Atomic Blonde. My God, that was quite stunning. But even like this was the time of Jason Bourne, and so when I first saw a trailer of this film, it was it's basically like a mini, female Jason Bourne. But you can't even compare it to that, because the action scenes of Jason Bourne are just crazy. So I don't think this really compares. Maybe if it had like more interesting choreography.
I think my favorite scenes were actually at the start with all like the forest, snowy stuff. That's definitely my favorite. Like I enjoyed the little montage training sequence that starts off with a memory of a girl from her past. Then Hannah hears his gunshots from outside, and all the images of this girl with blue hair are cut to the gunshots, which was a nice way to start off your montage. Joe Wright has this connection to music, mainly using like diegetic sound. Like the sound effects become like the music in the score, again, like atonement at times. There's gunshots and sound effects of the pair practicing fighting with sticks that begins to sound very musical, again adds to the score. Plus the dialogue from Saoirse Ronan repeating over and over in German becomes part of the music too. And I think Joe Wright he's a very like rhythmical filmmaker, and there's no surprise that there's a musical sequence in Spain, and Hannah is watching it like a paso, and again the cutting gets quicker and quicker, and cuts to the next scene right on the beat.
Yeah.
I think it's no surprise as well that his next film is Cyrano, a musical. I think he's probably been crying out to do one for a while.
Yeah, I like the scene where she gets like thoroughly overwhelmed because she's never, used a television before or like electronics. Yeah. And she turns it on. There's a war film going on and keeps like increasing the volumes. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And like the phone rings. She's trying to turn it off with the remote and just gets way too much for her. She runs out of the room. And I like how that was done. It was cut in a way where it gets more and more panic-inducing. So you're like, oh, shit, this is too much.
Yeah, I did enjoy that scene. That was well done. Yeah. So score, Baz, what are you going for directing?
Yeah, man. I think you make some good points. And I think there are good shots. I think, as you said, like there are some things where he's doing stuff where you're like, that's kind of not necessary. But I do think there are some good scenes. There are some good shots. As you say, sound, music, and all that stuff. I think there are some good things here. I think as an action film, it's not as interesting. I think the action kind of, as we've talked about, isn't that great.
Lets it down.
It really does let it down. I think I'll go fucking hell. I'll go like a 6.7.
I was going similar as well. Again, just like a lot of unnecessary camera flare stuff that just feels very out of place and just doesn't work in my opinion. It's just way too much. So a lot of the direction didn't work for me, and I think it's one of these cases where an inexperienced action director has come in and tried to do an action film differently, and it just doesn't work. So I'll go 6.5 for me. Right, screenplay. The screenplay is quite simple, and the script allows the weird, like quirky elements of the film to really shine through. I felt like there were no real surprises in the script. You see Hannah holding the DNA document a few times, and it wasn't hard to guess that she was genetically enhanced. I didn't guess that Banner's character Eric was not her father, but I wasn't like, oh my god, I can't believe what I'm seeing. It wasn't a huge shock. I feel like the film should have stayed in the forest of Leipzig a bit more to make Eric and Hannah's bond a little more stronger.
Yeah, this might sound controversial, but I like the kind of very strange family she essentially goes on a road trip with.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I thought they were weird. They're a bunch of hippies. What?
I just wish Hannah fucking killed them all. Like, especially Sophie, the teenager. I'm like, oh, please kill her now and move on.
All right, so you didn't like them. Fair enough. I quite liked them. They were interesting.
I mean, the father was quite reasonable. Like, where is your mother? Where is your mum? Where the mother is like, oh no, parenting is different now. More independent. She's 13. Yeah. What are you doing? She slaps down 2 skinned rabbits. And you're like, oh yeah, that's normal. No, it isn't.
All right, fair enough. I thought it was kind of adorable that Sophie's such a bloody weird, essentially like sorority girl or whatever. She's very strange. She's like one of those horrible caricatures of a cool girl, just talking shit. But I kind of thought it was adorable how they actually crush on each other. They actually quite like each other, like in a romantic way.
Yeah, that scene was acceptable. Fine. The scenes where Hannah and her really annoying friend Sophie go on a night out with these 2 Spanish kids who are like way too old for them didn't feel believable at all. Like, 1, those guys are way too old for them. 2, those Spanish guys would have ran a mile from the really annoying teenage girl Sophie.
Oh God, yeah.
When Hannah and the guy really nearly kiss and Hannah throws him to the ground and Hannah asks Sophie, should I let him go? And I'm like, no, kill him now and move on. Seriously. And while you're at it, kill Sophie. Please.
All right. All right. So yeah, Sophie's on your hit list there. Definitely Could
Yes,
have done
please.
without that. Fair enough. Oh man, that's hilarious.
But I quite liked the fact that the flashback scene with Kate Blanchett's character, Marissa Viegler, comes quite early in the film, showing that she killed Hannah's mother. Because Kate Blanchett was acting quite shifty, and you know she's not telling her colleagues the whole truth.
Mm.
And you get that very early on, and I love the fact that this film doesn't fall into the trap of revealing that near the end, where so many films do, where you see the reveal a mile away, they reveal it, and you're like, yeah, we know, what's your point?
Yeah.
There's some cool lines. Some funny lines. I mean, there are some funny lines in this. Near the start from Eric Banner's character, Eric. The great blue whale. I'm not doing this. It's a very strange accent.
It is.
Like, the great blue whale is the largest animal to have ever existed. Its heart weighs 1,300 pounds. And a male has 7 gallons of testicles. That was pretty funny.
I like where he was asking, like the father was asking, where's your mother? And she was like, oh, she died. But she's like very matter of fact, yeah, she's dead. It's like, oh shit, that's terrible. Like, oh, don't worry, it was ages ago. How did she die? 3 bullets to the face. It's like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I like how he spits out his words. He's like, Jesus Christ.
And they don't think anything dodgy is happening.
Yeah, I know. They don't report this to the authorities. Like, exactly. Like, try and just be like, I think she needs to be put in custody. Her father sounds like really sort of neglectful. Stranded her in the middle of Morocco.
By far, my favorite character is Tom Holland's character.
Yeah.
He plays this like gay German hitman, and he says at one point, "Is that all you got? Huh? Run, little piggy!" to Eric.
Yeah, I think he was pretty
as he's
brilliant.
chasing him in the car.
Yeah.
But my favorite line from him, line exchange between Viegler and his character, is when she says, "She's a bit old for you, isn't she?" And she says, "She has male and female genitalia." I'm like, whoa, okay,
yeah.
that's weird.
Yeah. Do you remember when he was going through tents and the son saw him? He just kind of opened his tent and he was like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "It's the Sandman. Go to sleep." It's like, what the hell? I find it weird that he thought nothing of it, that the kid just went back to bed. That would have terrified the shit out of me. Like, you got this blonde-haired German who just opens my tent and says, "It's the Sandman," and then closes.
I'm just like, he must have been like, hang on, I did not imagine the Sandman to be a gay German.
Oh, man.
You got a favourite line then? Ow.
Fucking hell. Yeah, maybe that, actually. It's the Sandman. It's just like, what the hell? Or maybe, how did your mother die? Three bullets to the face. And, that sounds pretty serious, but it was hilarious.
So, I think... Well, score. What's your score, Boaz, for screenplay?
For the screenplay. Oh, man, it's so difficult, this. I don't know. I really don't know. I do feel there are bits, even the stuff I said in directing is really to do with the script, and there are bits that do feel contrived.
But there are so many films where like contrived stuff are executed way better than in this film.
Yeah, true. That is true. I think maybe I'll just fuck it. I'm not thinking about this anymore. I'll just do it. I'll do it the same as I did directing. I'll just give it a 6.7 or something. 6.6.
For me, I do think the script is better than the direction.
I do think, actually, I think I feel I made a mistake there. Give it a 6.9. Yeah, I don't feel right about putting that lower than the directing.
I'll go 7.2 because I think I appreciate they bring the flashback early, so it's not a really disappointing reveal. I definitely appreciate that, and I like the fact that there's enough intrigue with the DNA stuff, and they don't try and overcomplicate the story or the script. And there are some really hilarious lines, and Tom Hollander's character is hilarious. Yeah. So you got to give credit for that. But again, with the reveals of like, the fact that Eric Banner was not her father, it was like, meh, okay, yeah. It wasn't a big shock.
Yeah, it's not actually like world changing or whatever. I'm trying to think what a reveal would be that would like blow this wide open that you think, what the fuck? I suppose this is going to sound crazy, but if like Marissa was related to her, like was her actual mother, and you're like, Jesus Christ, it's her mother? You're like, bang, that would have blown my mind.
Yeah, it's like a double bluff. or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. You know, that Eric was basically lying to her, you know, that he killed your mother. It's like, no, she is your mother, but she also wants you as a secret government weapon. It's like, oh, shit. You know, maybe that would have made the film, like, busted it wide.
Acting then. Tom Hollander, as we said a few times, is brilliant as this gay German hitman.
Yeah.
Like, he's just talking very calmly to Kate Blanchett in this weird, like, basement club. There's, like, some sort of performance going on stage. Then in the middle of the conversation, he just shouts, "Stop! Start again!" like in German.
Yeah.
And slaps the guy next to him. It's a very funny outburst, and he's quite anxious looking for a few moments.
Yeah, I think
like
funny.
he really wants his performance to be just right.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought he was pretty good.
quite
I
funny.
think he might be my favorite. I think, what was it? I didn't like Kate Blanchett's accent. It kind of really bothered me.
No?
It really annoyed me throughout the film.
film.
Yeah, I didn't like her accent. That was irritating. Actually, quite a lot of characters put on accents. I find that strange. Like, I think Tom Hollander probably does it the best. But, like, why is Eric Bana? What the hell is he speaking? Is he German?
I think they're supposed to be all German apart from Kate Blanchett, who's supposed to be American.
Yeah. Her accent really bothered me. Just really kind of rubbed me up the wrong way.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd rather she just talked like Kate Blanchett.
Weirdly, it didn't bother me that much. I didn't mind it so much.
Yeah, fair enough.
Again, like the accents, for me, were not the problem with this film.
Yeah.
I think the accents were okay.
Yeah, I think almost every accent was pretty good. I don't know why, but yes, her accent just bothered me. Just throughout the whole movie, it bothered me. Not that it was a bad performance, I'm saying it's just, you know, the way she talked bothered me.
No, she really gives the film some real integrity for me. And like we say, we were kind of shitting on that last scene between Kate Blanchett and Saoirse Ronan in terms of acting from both of them. It's really good. It's just everything else isn't.
Yeah.
Especially from Kate Blanchett, you know. I think the best fight scene for me though was near the end between Banner and the goon in the abandoned play area, where it's all done in like slow motion, and you can see the actors doing all the moves themselves. Not that they weren't before, but it just felt more clear, and I felt like the actors were given more license to really go for it in those fight scenes because it was all like slowed down. It just felt more visceral, and you could feel the punches a bit more.
Yeah,
I kind of wish that fight was a bit more extended. But I actually did quite like the shot of that bird's eye view camera angle, and you see Eric Banner's dead body like on the
merry-go-round.
That was quite
good.
good.
That's pretty good.
So, favourite performance for me is Tom Hollander by far.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with you there. I think he was quite an entertaining villain.
So, score bars, what are you going for acting?
Oh man, I think maybe I'll go much higher. I think I'll go like a 7.9. I don't think there was like problems with the acting.
But I think there are problems with the fight scenes. I just feel like even the fight scene with the long take with Eric Banner in the subway, it just didn't feel rehearsed enough. And the fight scene between, you know, Saoirse Ronan taking out the guys with all the shipping containers around her, it just didn't feel right. And you've got to judge that on acting, I think, as well. It just didn't feel convincing enough for me. But what saves it is the normal, well, not normal, but the non-fighting action saves it. And Tom Hollander's amazing. He's having a great time. So I'll go like 7.7, I think. Right, let's add up the scores then for Hannah, which needs a H on the end. Hannah gets 42.9. So Atonement wins pretty comfortably, I think, with 50.7. Next week as Moonfall, where the moon falls down.
That looks stupid as
is
fuck.
Out in
that
cinemas.
Looks stupid as hell. I've seen trailers of that. That looks so silly. I'll probably watch it, but it looks daft as hell.
Yeah, so we're focusing on next one, where the moon falls down, and that, of course, is directed by Roland Emmerich. So I'll be picking our favourite Roland Emmerich films. So that one should be very exciting. Yes. So thank you, Boaz. You have been an amazing quiet assassin today.
Yeah.
ripping up Atonement and Hannah. well, mainly me, to be fair.
Mainly you negative Nelly. Find the little bits in anything.
Yeah. All right, bye-bye.
Yep, and you've been a posh little toff. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
That's it for this week's pod. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to find out more about the podcast or suggest future topics for us to discuss related to upcoming releases, let us know on Instagram at Film vs. Film Podcast and on Twitter at FVF_podcast. Remember, please subscribe. Pod signing off.